Welcome back to Late Night at the Movies on the Late Night Chat Network, your first stop for pop culture talk. And today we're doing episode 65, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Nico, and joined with me today, we got Max and Julie Mack in the house. What's going on, guys?
What's up?
Not much. And unfortunately, once again, JT was unable to join us for this one. He's been taking a bit of a vacay lately and actually taking some time off from doing the show. So kudos to him, actually taking a break there for once. And I'm sure he'll come back refreshed and ready as ever to throw out his comments and
going through a spiritual transformation of sorts.
That's right. He's a whole new man. So yeah, he'll be back ready to talk movies soon with us. I think you'll be able to catch him on some of the other episodes that we'll be recording for the channel as well. So stay tuned for that. And of course, he is missed. You might even see him pop in later today. I don't know. I don't know if he'll interrupt the broadcast at some point, but he just wasn't able to make the time for recording this here. You know, he's a guy who likes to be prepared, right, Julie? I mean, that's what I always like to say about JT. He's a guy who always comes prepared and ready with his homework completed, ready to talk.
All the notes.
So, okay, so this is my pick for the show. And actually, just because of the fact that I realized because of the fact we ended up having Parth on as a guest, and then we ended up, you and me, switching, Julie, our picks because just it was more in line with the theme of the Zack Snyder films that we were doing after Man of Steel. Mm-hmm. It's actually been like a solid, couple of months, I feel like, since my last pick here on the show. Mm-hmm. Was Blowout was the last one that we did. Yeah, so
a long time ago.
Yeah, it's felt like a bit here. So a bit of a stretch, but happy to finally throw this pick out there. I knew I wanted to talk about this movie at some point if someone else didn't pick it. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I picked this movie for the show, first off, I've just been trying to do like straight up bangers now, like lately, like ones not even like more thematic kind of picks as we sometimes try to do here for the last couple anyways. Although Blowout isn't like a super well-known film, I would argue, but I think it's just like one I really liked. And same with this movie. This is obviously a classic, very well-known film, but part of the reason why I picked this movie is because in part that Julie has a notorious list on her Letterboxd account. If you guys want to hear more about that and other talk about things we've been watching lately and things, that are on our watch list, check out Late Night Letterboxd, which is basically an extension of this show, which is like all things movie talk outside of the films that we talk about and revisit on this show. But Julie, what's the name of that list again that you have on there?
Let me pull it up so I don't misquote myself real quick.
We're always appalled that I haven't seen this.
People are always shocked, appalled, offended that I haven't seen these. LOL.
Right. So Julie has this running list because, from doing
100 films.
Yeah, from doing this show and even just in conversation with Julie over the years, we've realized that hasn't seen a lot of big movies that we would consider films that everyone has seen. Just ones that are kind of like very relevant, like to the culture and just general film watching that we saw when we were younger, a lot of us, right? So she's got some pretty big ones in that list. And, in part with trying to like pick a big summer blockbuster type film and also one that I like. I saw that this movie was on Julie's list. So I actually pivoted. Originally, I was going to pick another movie, but I pivoted over to this one. And then even after I picked it, I was like, you know what? Other than this just being like a straight up banger of a movie, in my opinion, and a good film, what does this film really mean to me? And then I kind of felt like maybe this film doesn't really mean as much to me as other picks have been that I've made on this show. Sometimes it's just worth the conversation of certain movies that we end up picking. But then the more I thought about it, this movie does mean a lot to me because this was a very informative film when I was younger. like Spielberg and Lucas working together on this movie, like it just really sparks the child's imagination. These films, like in so many of their movies, they're both known from this, from Star Wars and E.T. that Spielberg went off and did after this. Like there's so many classic films that they did during these 70s and 80s that like have like stood the test of time and really just like, were so informative to me in my years, moving forward, for being a lover of all like sci-fi type adventure stuff. And just like, again, like the intro for this movie alone is one of, if not the best intro of a film of all time, in my opinion. It's just a fantastic, like they drop you right into the middle of Peru there, in the middle of the jungle with this guy raiding the temple for the idol, and it's just like right from the get-go, your boy Alfred Molina is there from Boogie Nights, throwing the firecrackers. Like a young Alfred. Yeah exactly. Just like right from the get-go, like I just remember this film, like watching this as a kid and my mind being blown. Like not only that, like I have a lot of really fond memories of like this art that's on the background of the screen right now was the art that was featured, like, I guess not only in the poster, but on the actual VHS of the film. And I remember owning that VHS when I was younger and just watching it all the time at home. Like, and, my mom was a fan of this film, and that's why we had it around. So, like, yeah, it really does mean a lot to me in a lot of ways in that sense. Like, I do have a lot of really great memories attached to it. But yeah, like I said, this is a quality I think that Spielberg and Lucas really had at the time. And I also have fond memories, like I said, of the VHS. I also had like one of those books that was like these books they used to have them back in the day. I don't know if you guys ever had these, where it was like movie scenes out of a movie, and they would come with a cassette tape, and you would play the cassette tape, and it would actually read out moments from the film, and you would actually read along in the book, and they would have the voices or like voice actors like playing out the scenes of some of the scenes in the movie. And I had the one for this, and I also had the one for The Last Crusade, which is the Sean Connery one, which is the third one in these trilogy of movies, which I like as well. And so again, even like all of the toys and comics and everything else that this kind of like, in terms of like even products that this spawned, like TV shows, like 2 more movies that came afterwards, like video games, like this is a very popular franchise that now Disney owns, that honestly, it's just, again, it stood the test of time. I actually watched the newer movie a couple of years ago, and I know there was mixed reviews on that one, but I actually quite liked the last one. I thought it was a really good ending for the character of Indiana Jones in that film. And the way they ended that movie, I don't think there's any way he's ever coming back. I think Harrison Ford kind of put up the bullwhip in his hat there at the end. It was basically like, yeah, that's it for me. Right. So I don't want to spoil that ending for anybody who hasn't watched it, but it was a fitting end, I feel like, to these films that were supposed to be a trilogy originally. Right. And they've come back a couple of times for him reprising the role. Right. So, as I mentioned, quite possibly the best intro of all time. Everything from the booby traps to the swapping of the idol with the bag of sand there to kind of, capture the weight with the rolling ball, with Alfred Molina trying to run off on him and getting killed 2 seconds later. Adios, senor. That's great. Like, oh my God. And honestly, like all the way from him running through the getting chased there by the natives into the plane, like just such an amazing intro of a film that's stuck in my mind. This is kind of jumping ahead a little bit as I'm talking about the intro scene before we get into best scenes. But honestly, there's a few scenes specifically in this movie that have like carried on in my, how like they have that meme where it's like this thing is rent free in my head or whatever. Like, how does it go? It has a space rent free in my head or something like that.
This lives rent free in my head.
There's so many moments I can't tell you that I've made the reference to the ending scene of this movie where the box of the Ark goes into the warehouse of 1,000 different boxes. That is such an iconic kind of image at the end of the film with the credits rolling at the end, where they left you on that. You're like, what the hell? Like, it just goes into this warehouse. Between that, the face melting scene, and honestly, my favorite scene, which is when he shoots the guy in the market with the sword. just amazing moments that I've never been able to forget in this film. Like even revisiting it after having watched it so many times, like I gotta admit, like for me, there was maybe some lulls while watching it this time along the way, but that's only because I've seen this movie like a million times, I felt like. But those scenes are still like I love getting to all. There's so many moments in this movie that I still really enjoy. The John Williams score is amazing. I mean, the dude was just on a straight heater of creating classic scores at this time, coming off of working already with Lucas and Spielberg. I mean, doing some of the stuff for obviously for Star Wars. You know, he did Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind with Spielberg. He did Jaw. Like this guy was just cranking out classic kind of scores at this time, like for his films. Superman. I mean, you name it, this guy has done it, including the theme in this song, which is iconic, right? And the collaboration of these directors, they really created something special here. I mean, Lucas basically just helped create the story and the concept for this movie, and Spielberg directed it. Lucas actually, for as much as people actually know about him, hasn't actually directed a whole lot of films in his career. But he's like a really good concept guy, idea guy, and he's helped create a lot of things, like you know, like the worlds that he kind of makes up in his mind and on paper, like, or you know, obviously have stood the test of time. He created Star Wars, right? So I mean, that's really all you need to really have contributed to cinema, honestly, and that you could really just walk away after creating Star Wars, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, him and Spielberg, this is like a special mix of like creatives, like something like I would compare it to like a Jack Kirby, Stan Lee type of deal, where it's just the perfect mixture of creatives working together, and you know, like they create the secret sauce of maybe something that maybe was never been able to be recreated on this level again. I mean, there was just a bunch of people that worked on this movie in the primes of their career, and I would argue the sequels to this movie are nowhere near as good as this one. This is the best film in any of the Indiana Jones movies, and I think that this is really where they knocked it out of the park with this one. Like for me, this is the one that's the best out of the whole series. A little bit of you know, as we talk about Lucas's contributions here, a little bit of background on this, because I did some homework for this one, because it's such a big movie. Lucas conceived the idea during the time he had done American Graffiti, which he did before Star Wars. Then he went on to direct and create Star Wars a few years later, because he directed the first film but didn't direct the other two afterwards. And he was after he was unable to get the movie about Flash Gordon made, he basically moved on to create Star Wars. After the success of Star Wars, he brought this idea to Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote the screenplay for this film, who was just coming off written Empire Strikes Back with him, right, for the second movie in Star Wars, which is my favorite of the original three Star Wars movie. And along with Philip Kaufman, him and Lucas developed the story for this film. And then he brought in Steven Spielberg, which was not only a peer, but a friend of his that he brought on to direct this. But Steven Spielberg was coming off of a movie that was not successful in 1941. That was kind of did not do well and was not critically well received. And he did Jaws before that, but then he went off and did this movie. And then in Hollywood, when you sometimes would have such a huge stinker of a film that would come out, it would really damage your reputation a little bit back in the day in that sense. So after coming off of that, he, Lucas, like him and bringing Spielberg into this, not that Spielberg couldn't do this without Lucas. I mean, this feels like very much like a Spielberg movie as well, I would argue, but it's just like, and he went on to create so many other great movies, but it's funny because Spielberg hasn't written many movies, like in that sense, like he's directed a lot of films, but the opposite of like creating concepts for a lot of films, he's had other people write a lot of his movies. He's written I think about 3 movies. Most recently was The Fabelmans, right? If I'm not mistaken. So,
which makes sense. That was
very personal.
But I know actually,
and Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind was one of the ones.
No. I think actually he did have someone write that script. I think it was Tony Kushner, who wrote Angels in America. That Broadway.
I think he co-wrote it with him, though, right? Or he conceived the story with him.
Because I remember watching one of those Hollywood roundtables. Do you ever watch those?
Yeah.
And he was there for the Fabelmans.
Okay.
Tony Kushner.
Okay.
By the way, I keep forgetting. I keep mixing up that guy and Jared Kushner, like Trump's son-in-law or whatever. I gotta remember which one is
difference.
which. Tony Kushner. Yeah.
But yeah, for most people that were fans of Spielberg during this period, I mean, everybody goes back and points to Jaws as being his best film. For me, like during this period, like for me, it's this movie. It'll always be this movie. I like Jaws. I understand and appreciate how technical and hard of a movie that was to shoot at that time. The shoot was a bit disastrous for Spielberg from everything I've read and heard about the subject. Like it was a very tough time for him to create that film. So, and I like Jaws a lot. But this is, for me, is my favorite like Spielberg movie during that time that he directed during that period. Not of all time, but it's in the top 3 probably for me of his, or top 5 for sure. Yeah, and that's basically what I have to kind of say in terms of setup of the film before we get into likes, dislikes. I also got some great fun facts and tidbits about the production of the movie as well to throw in later, because I did a little bit extra homework for this one. But I seen this originally first time when I was younger. Like I said, we had it on VHS. I probably watched it when I was maybe like 6 or 7, somewhere around there. Maybe like I was really young, maybe even younger, honestly, when we had it, because you know, this was a popular film throughout the whole 80s. So by the time VHS was getting more popularized and they sold so many copies of this film, actually, this is one of the big ones that sold during that period of time, because they actually offered this at a cheaper rate than they did other VHSs of the time period, because that's, you know, that's when people were renting videos out and they cost a lot of money for the video stores to purchase them. This was like one of the innovators for like home kind of viewing, like for affordable pricing, this one. So we had it, and yeah, I just have very fond memories of watching it as a kid, and it's sparking my imagination. So yeah, that's the reason why I picked this. But Julie, I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on it, as this is your first time kind of experiencing it. You don't have to go into all full likes, dislikes, but just overall thoughts here.
I really wish JT was here for this moment. It obviously was my first watch of the movie, like Nico was saying, which knocks a movie off my crazy pop culture list from Letterboxd. I watched it on a plane. It was all right. No, I'm kidding. It was good. I think that because I'm watching it out of its time, from the era of filmmaking, it's not as impactful to me as it would have been if I had seen it when I was a kid, before special effects have become what they have. But I can appreciate objectively their use of like the miniatures and all these like practical special effects that they were doing versus like visual effects. Because that still hasn't like lost its charm to us. I feel like when we see that in a movie nowadays and we recognize it, we're like, oh, nice. They like, they didn't go the CGI route for something like that. So it is still kind of like, oh, cool. Like when you look at that, you're like, nice. It's a good movie. It's yeah, like I'm obviously aware of Indiana Jones as a franchise, but yeah, I'd never seen it. I've known enough of the like the summary of what the movie was about, more or less. But yeah, that was my first watch through, and I did enjoy it. Yeah, it was a good way for me to kill 2 hours while I was stuck on a plane. So
you actually got to use that joke properly now.
Yep. Yep. My seatmate, I feel like, kept glancing over at me when there was all this like Nazi memorabilia on the screen. I was like, okay, it's Indiana Jones, relax.
It's actually very trendy nowadays, so it's okay. It's coming back.
Yeah, you know, I'm starting to like gauging the reaction of my seatmate. I don't know if I'm sitting next to, you know, I don't know who I'm sitting next to.
You were in the States, so it's okay.
That's poor. This was on the plane or before the plane?
It was on the plane.
That's like poor airplane watching etiquette. You don't really watch what other people are watching. Like, I agree,
but sometimes you could glance. Sometimes you can't help it. You're like, oh, I wonder what's that.
But then, I don't know.
Sometimes you just gotta know. What are other people watching?
But so you saw them doing like making like a stink face or like?
No. She just like was glancing over because I had to like rig up my phone. It was not one of the fucking bigger planes that has the phone holder.
What was it? The scene when the monkey gives the sick high?
There's a lot. There's a lot in that movie. But no, I took one of my hair clips and put it around my phone and then stuck it inside the seat back pocket thing so I didn't have to look down at my phone like this for the entire plane ride, so I could actually sit normal. Yeah, it
I love that ongoing joke has become an ongoing joke on the show now, of where you watched it and how crappily of an experience you had watching it. Max wishes that it died out, but it's never going to die out.
I'm trying to remember
how that started.
What the movie even was that you watched on the plane?
Was it that I said I saw on a plane? It was Man on Fire. Because it was all right, and I saw it on a plane.
No, but then you took that part of it and applied it to how JT says he watches cars. Like what you said he was watching
stuff in the car, on the toilet.
Remember he said.
But JT says, I remember one time he said he didn't even watch the movie; he listened to it.
Yeah, and
I was
like a podcast.
Then you had it like in the background.
Then you told me one time he was watching the movie as he was coming here, like
on his way over.
He was
driving, and he has the movie playing, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't have a chance to watch it because I was listening to it last."
This guy's a menace to society.
I'm like, how the hell do you listen to a movie? That's
the
first time
okay,
yeah, no, it was good.
I'll accept that.
It passed the time. It passed the time for me. Like I was invested. Okay. I feel like I have like real bad ADD on the plane. Like I switch between fucking apps that aren't working because I'm not connected to the internet. I look out the window for a while. I put music on. Like I can't like make up. Like decided on an activity, but I was locked in when I was watching it.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. That's honestly not your most brutal review that you've had for
No, like I said, I did enjoy it. I respect the shit out of the movie. It's just I think that it's not as impactful to me seeing it in 2025.
It's fair.
Yeah.
Do you think you would end up watching any of the other films in the series
based on your review just now? Probably not.
No, there's other good ones, but this is the best one in my opinion.
Oh, okay.
In my opinion. So I mean, I think we'll get into it later. I'll mention the other ones worthwhile when we get to movie pairings. Yeah. I think there's a couple other ones you can pair this with that are quite good. But then there's a couple of really bad entries, honestly, in my opinion, as well.
Okay.
Ones that don't. This one's so good that it makes the other ones look shit in comparison, in my opinion.
Fair.
But they have their fans. The original trilogy, I feel like if you speak to different people, I think 9 times out of 10 it's going to be this one. But there's some other people I feel like have some affinity for the other films in the trilogy as well. But we can get into it later.
If it came up in a setting where it was on or something, I wouldn't protest. I would watch it, knowing now that I've seen the first one and I kind of know what's going on.
Right. Yeah. How about you, Max? Your experience with this?
Yeah. So it's been so long since I've seen this movie. Can I just say I don't think I've actually. No, wait, no, I've seen it. I've seen it a couple of times. I was gonna say I don't think I've seen this movie more than once all the way through. Maybe just like in bits over the years. But no, I do remember. The first time I ever saw these movies, the original Indiana Jones trilogy, was in 2003, and I remember the year because that was the year that they were released on DVD. They were like remastered on DVD, and I remember Blockbuster was making like a huge deal about it because they had like the posters on it and stuff. And I was living with my cousin and my uncle, and he. I remember for 3 Saturdays in a row, they rented out each Indiana Jones movie, and so it was like I was like 8 years old. We were watching this for the first time, but the first one they got was Temple of Doom, and
which is the second movie, which actually takes place before
chronologically
this one.
Is the first part, which is interesting. That was the first one that I saw. And I'm just watching. I was like, okay, this is interesting.
That's one of the ones, for the record, I don't like.
Yeah, I personally I like all 3 of the original.
So do I, but I mean in comparison, it's my least favorite out of the.
To be
trilogy.
Fair though, I haven't revisited them in a long time, so maybe in my adult critical stage, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll see what you're seeing. But when you're describing how all these scenes stick out to you, that the same happens to me in all 3 of the movies. Like
yes,
like in the second one, like when they the Kali Ma scene and he's eating like the monkey brains and the short round and even the beginning of this, like
he's had a resurgence in his career.
I just remember so much from all 3 of these movies, like pivotal scenes.
Yeah,
and I enjoy them all pretty much equally. But I actually, it's funny to say, I think I actually like the other 2 more. Like, to be honest, like
wow. There you go, Julie.
Like and I like
the third one's really good. The third one, I
Sean Connery.
Yeah, I love that one.
And that's the funny thing. So. The first one they rented.
The story is actually better, I would argue, in the third one. It's like a nicer arc of a story. That's not to interrupt you, but I I quite like the story in comparison in the third one than the first one, despite the scenes being better for me in the first one than that one. If that makes sense. Like, I think overall the first one's a better film. It has more exciting, fun moments, but the third one, I think the story between the relationship between him and his father, Sean Connery, in the third one,
That's the highlight
yes,
for a lot of people.
yes.
That's why a lot of people like that one.
Like, that one's very close to. I just don't think the second one's all that good. Although as a kid, I really enjoyed it, but I've revisited it older now. I didn't think it's as good.
Seen it. I probably haven't seen it since like 04, 05.
But
like,
go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's all good. So so Temple of Doom is the first one I saw. And then the next Saturday they rented out. I remember it was like 3 weekends in a row. We got one each time. And this second movie we saw was Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then we finished it on Last Crusade. So it was kind of like, I guess, a chronological order.
Yeah.
And I love these movies, and I think these are like the perfect movies to show kids. I know there's like a little bit of blood in them, but I think these, like, something about like Spielberg and Lucas, they totally cracked the code. And I think with Star Wars and with Jaws, they essentially invented the 80s with those. I know those movies came out in the mid to late 70s, but they basically invented what the trend of filmmaking was going to happen for the next decade, with all these other movies like that came out in the wake, like by Bob Zemeckis and Richard Donner.
I was going to save this till later, but that film reviewer, Pauline Kael, famously didn't like this movie as much because she foresaw that all these franchises were beginning to start up, and she basically saw the future of the movie industry happening before her very eyes, and she didn't like that trend.
You follow Pauline Kael? Like, you research stuff?
No. I've learned more about her over the last little while. Not a special nod to the Rewatchables podcast. That's where I got that tidbit. I've read some things on this film and I listened to some podcasts. But she's one of the movie critics that people reference a lot, including Tarantino.
Because she always had these very pointed and interesting sort of, like, she was saying stuff that nobody else was.
So Ebert loved this movie. She did not as much. At the time, apparently she said it was fine, but she also didn't like the direction that she could foresee where Hollywood was going with. This was the birth of the franchise films. Like, even this movie, they signed on knowing this was going to be a trilogy, similar to what Lucas did with Star Wars. Harrison Ford knew going into this film that they were going to do a trilogy of films. So they weren't really doing that back then as much. Like, obviously now it's like this is the framework of action film franchises now, right?
The thing is, people say this is what I don't think like Spielberg or Lucas like invented that, but I think they just popularized it and they showed Hollywood.
I'm not attributing it to them, but this is the start of that. More happening.
Before them, you had the Planet of the Apes movies. Those went on for like 5 movies. You had James Bond. That was like a bunch of sequels.
But these were blockbuster films. These were big.
That's what
films.
I'm saying. Like, they made it very. Like,
but by auteurs. That's why I don't understand why like anybody could hate on it, because these guys had like interesting, like, you know what I mean, like ideas.
The filmmaking in all of their movies is top notch.
Yeah,
like you couldn't name a better filmmaker than Steven Spielberg. He's arguably the greatest who's ever done it.
He should be in everyone's top 5.
Absolutely. And just all the different genres and sensibilities that he's touched is
he's a master of the craft.
Every time even when I was watching Raiders of the Lost Ark, I was like, I can't believe this guy has this like in his like filmography. Like what can he not do?
You forget about it almost. Yeah,
you really almost forget how much of a genius
he was involved in 3 of these through the 80s. Absolutely. Amongst 7 films that he did. 3 of them were this. So he loved these movies. You know what I mean? Like, it's it's impressive, honestly.
I almost look at this franchise, the original Indiana Jones trilogy, as sort of like the spiritual sequel to Star Wars. Because they're both conceived by George Lucas essentially, and they both starred Harrison Ford, but also because George Lucas is like the OG, like, take a bunch of your influences and like put them in a pod and like, you know what I mean? And it comes out into this thing. Like with Star Wars, it was all like the space opera serials, and it was all like the westerns meets like that. And
he wanted to do Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon. You got Samurai Pictures.
He's a huge fan, as you can tell from this, that his idea behind that and this, pulp characters.
Kurosawa is like a huge influence.
But like pulp heroes and stuff like that.
And this was the same concept, essentially. Like that Lucas was taking like all those old adventure sort of TV series that like him and I guess Spielberg probably too, because they're the same age around, that they kind of grew up on, and that's like all these shots that you're seeing in a lot of these movies were taken from older films, and so they just made like a mishmash of all of this stuff. And yeah, it's great stuff. And yeah, I really like this movie. I'm glad you picked it, and it gave me license to revisit them. And I think, yeah, like, and I think these are movies that, like, you know, kids can enjoy them, adults can enjoy them, adults can enjoy them with their kids, kind of thing. And I think that's the biggest takeaway for me about them.
Absolutely. So yeah, so I'm glad everyone enjoyed it and appreciated it for the most part here. That's great. That sounds good. It's always good when we're all somewhat on the same page going into these conversations. Although I do enjoy when people are on different ends of opinion. Of course, it makes for a better conversation sometimes. So, okay. So I kind of threw out a lot of, like, you know, things I liked about the film in my intro there. Is there any other likes, dislikes that you guys wanted to mention? I just had a couple of dislikes I'll throw out, and then I'll give it over to you guys before I get into my fun facts about the film. I felt like some of the acting in some of the scenes in this movie fell flat at times between some of the actors. Honestly, there was like a couple of lulls, like moments. I was having a hard time buying into some of like the romance of this film, I think, between the two characters. And you know, but I think the point of the whole movie is more so that he has love for the artifacts, not this woman. Like, and it's actually something they end up revisiting through the other films with her, with Marianne. Like, she actually shows up even in the last movie in this series of films, reprises her role. Karen Allen, I think, is her name. I forgot the act. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she reprises her role as Marianne in the last movie. And they actually, this is why I liked the last movie. They actually revisited some of the ideas that they originated within this first film, and they actually came back around and tied them up, I felt like, to a satisfying conclusion. In my opinion, the one time I saw it in theaters anyways, there was a lot of things they touched on, which I felt like they were actually trying to close out this guy's story. So I think, even though it's not really working, I felt like in some of the moments that they shared on screen in this, I'm also led to believe they kind of bought into that, knowing that this wasn't the path for this character. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of almost want to give them the pass in that regard, because, like, originally this character, the way he was conceived is that they wanted him to be more of like a ladies' man, like a James Bond type of character who sleeps and hooks up with a lot of women. And then they kind of changed their idea, I guess, prior to making the movie. I guess that was Lucas's original kind of idea for how he wanted to approach it. And then I guess amongst the writers and himself, they said, you know what, we're gonna make it so he has this romance with this woman, and that's kind of the route they ended up taking. But there was kind of that between that, and there was a couple of lulls I felt like throughout the film, but which is just funny, because the whole idea behind what they wanted to do with this movie is that they purposely wanted something cool to happen on screen every 10 minutes while creating this. And to Max's point, the reason he was doing that is because he was trying to make it like serializations of films that used to play in theaters before TV, and how they were episodic, and you had to kind of basically come back next week to see how the guy in the film got out of the jam that he just got himself into. And that's basically what this movie is that it's just a bunch of moments that Indiana Jones has to find a way out of throughout the whole movie. So they constantly are trying to do something exciting, put something cool on the screen, right? So I think that's really neat that was their idea behind this, because I think that it honestly, again, is the framework for a lot of action films to this day, is that they constantly are trying to re-up the ante and do something cool all the time to wow the viewers. And they're very, you know, can also be fast paced on this level. But I thought, like, for the time that this came out, that was very interesting choice. And I think it really works well for the pace of this film, despite me saying there was a couple of lulls just with the main storyline. I felt, right, it was slow in a couple of moments when the action wasn't happening. Also, some of the effects, as Julie mentioned earlier, I feel like didn't hold up. There's a couple of really bad moments, which, again, you know, can't help it. A lot of the practical effects are still hold up really well. But then there's a couple of moments where, like, for instance, they're trying to get into the site of the Ark, and there's the lightning and fucking fake dark like sky above them, and they're just standing out in front of it so bad, like their images, and it just looks so fake. It's just really bad.
Probably just bad green screening.
Yeah, it just kind of like it was just stuck out like a sore thumb among everything else. And because obviously there's all this great framing of the scenes, and they were shooting in actual like exotic locations compared to like some of it was down on a lot of sound
Stages?
Stages in London, but some of the stuff like the Cairo scenes, they went to Tunisia, which is actually the same place that they filmed Tatooine in Star Wars, which is like North Africa, I think, basically. So like the Cairo scenes were all filmed there, right? So that's what I mean. Like they actually took the opportunity to do cool things like that. So I'm almost excusable of some of the graphics, like in the moments, like with that sky and the lightning, as well as like the ghosts at the end. Like the ghosts don't look all that good now, like seeing all the ghosts coming out of the arc at the end. But I wasn't like upset by it. I was just like, okay, yeah. I mean, they clearly couldn't do like crazy effects with that at that point. At that time, it probably was impressive, right? So I mean, and I like how they kind of, you could see when the shit shot out of the arc at the end, they basically just rewound, it seems like, some footage, like they shot something, and basically just the way it was shot, you could tell they were like rewinding and speeding up, like it seems some sort of footage that they shot to create that effect. At least that's what it looked like to me when they were trying to do some of that stuff. But yeah, that's one of my only dislikes. Some like a couple of lulls, a couple of bad acting moments, and then or maybe not buying into the romance, and then a couple of like effect kind of stuff. Honestly, other than that, I think this is a pretty pitch perfect movie for me. I think it's from start to finish, it's an enjoyable ride. How about you, Julie? Likes, dislikes?
I have a huge appreciation for John Williams in this movie.
Yeah, sure.
The scoring of the movie obviously has become very iconic, and composers like him are also, like, he has a huge catalog of just like creating thematic score stuff that sticks with a franchise. So he obviously did that really well with this. I did think that the casting was pretty good, aside from her, only in that just the same thing that you were saying is just like some of it was not that convincing. I don't think she was like necessarily.
No, I liked her. I just the romance, like some of the scenes didn't hold up. I think in that respect, I don't think she's terrible. I actually like Marianne in this movie. I
don't think she's bad. I just think that the only one that I was just like, like I don't think like she did stick out for me as part of the cast as like she's kind of outacted by everyone, it feels like.
I feel like we bag on a lot of the women actresses on this show too, and no, but there's lots of movies where we say that's not.
But they're secondary characters. Like she is a pretty big part of the movie, but like I don't know, is she any bigger than like what's his name, Sala, or
Sala's a pretty big part of it for sure.
Yeah, like is she just sort of outshined by the other people.
Yeah.
But like I don't think she was terrible.
But like that's her character. But like her, because I find her annoying, is why I think she has it's a good performance. Like.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
No, she's always just like Indiana. Like I feel like that's all she does the whole movie.
She kind of got in the way a lot. Yeah.
Like she's supposed to be, this rough, tough fucking. She's holding her own against these barflies in fucking Nepal or wherever she was. But she, keeps getting kidnapped, and like there was some faults to that performance, I guess. I don't know. Or that writing, maybe.
Yeah. She's also in the movie Scrooged, which I really like. I watch every Christmas. That is, you're not familiar with that one?
No.
Okay. It's it's a Bill Murray Christmas movie where they basically just do a retelling of Scrooge, using Bill Murray as like a shitty businessman, essentially. Christmas Carol. Yeah. So, but she's his love interest in that, and she's I would say she's much better in that movie if we're just going to compare her as an actress. I think I've seen other good performances by her.
I don't think I know her from anything else other than this.
That's the main other thing that I know her from is that movie.
Yeah.
I've seen her in the other Indiana Jones movies. She shows back up again. I think she's in She's not, and again in the trilogy, is she? No, I think she's again. I think she shows up in the other last two movies. The one with Shia LaBeouf, where you find out that's his son, and then by the next one they kill him off. He's like completely out of the movie, and
Like he died?
yeah, I think they explained that he died, if I'm not mistaken.
Shit.
Yeah, I think they killed off his
I
character.
haven't seen the last one. The last one is the
I
only
like
one
the
haven't
I
seen.
like the last one. Like it, like I'll give my ranking later, but
Although-
I like the last one.
Although I didn't love
James Mangold, I think,
yeah,
did the last
yeah,
one.
which I think he's like the go-to director in case you want to like kill a character.
Plays it
off.
safe, like as well. Like I feel like a lot of the time, like
But,
in terms of
I
Logan, I guess, right?
Like, he's like the guy you call in when you want to get rid of your guy. Or whatever. But no. I don't mind Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I don't love it as much as the original trilogy of movies, but I just remember,
no, it's the worst one. Honestly, in my opinion, it's the
worse
worst.
than Dial of Destiny. Worse than the James Mangold one.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
I like the J. I told you.
Okay, because I haven't seen that one. That's what
I like it.
But I just remember the reasons why people hated that movie were so like fickle, like
Yeah,
because like Shia LaBeouf is like swinging with monkeys and shit, and like people hated that for something. And
well, I think
he's
that
in
was
a-
the start of the Shia LaBeouf hate at that time too.
Which
Yeah.
I always,
Yeah, he was in hot water not long after that.
I
I like
liked
Shia
him.
LaBeouf,
Me too,
though.
man. I never
Yeah.
bought into the Shia hate. I loved him since day one. Like
Yeah.
Steven Stevens.
But I
like,
think
that's
people
my
were
guy.
sick of seeing him at that time because he was in the Transformers, and then he was like, "Oh, now he's Indiana Jones." Like, you know what I mean?
One of
Like,
the best parts of that movie, Transformers.
I'm not saying anything about him in Transformers. I'm saying, people that I don't think were ready to see him and Harrison Ford act alongside one another at that time. I don't know.
I like him as an actor too. I just think it was when did he I don't even know if he ever got
He went off the rails during that period. It was
It was
right
when he
after
did,
Indiana Jones.
No, when did he beat the shit out of his girlfriend,
Oh,
allegedly?
Terrible. Was it Twiggy? FK Twigs? Was it when he was beating up?
I think it was after Indiana Jones, though, that period. Like when he went off the rails, like that was the time where he wasn't in Transformers
He
anymore.
was like
It was
he was doing it all right, where he was leaning into the meme shit that they were doing of him. Like he had it right, but then I don't know what happened. He lost it.
Hey, dude had a lot of problems though outside
Yeah,
of that.
yeah.
Like, and now he seems to be doing better. He's with me.
Like I said, those
married to me.
two those movies, like that one he wrote when he was in rehab or whatever, about his dad.
Oh, that was great. I watched
That
that.
was a
movie.
great
That was a
movie.
great movie. Yeah, what's the name of that? I
Honey-
can't
Honey
remember.
Boy.
Yeah, great movie.
What
Well,
was
that's
it
the
called?
thing, Honey Boy. But if you
Honey Boy,
watch that
right.
movie where he plays his dad, you can see all the the catharsis of like that he was going through doing that film of like problems that he had as a child actor with his father, right? Like,
Yeah.
like it was very. Yeah, I know we're
And
kind
then
of going off.
that other one he did around the same time, I think that Peanut Butter Falcon one, that one's great too.
Yes.
Have you
Yeah.
guys seen, I know Nico, you've seen it, but have you seen that one where they're doing the live stream of Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Yes. Where
Shia's
he's
a genius,
stoned,
bro.
yeah.
He's like fully committed as an actor.
Yeah. Disturbia, huge Disturbia fan.
Love
over
I
here.
love that movie.
So
Loved it.
there you go. Shout out to Shia LaBeouf. But yeah, I do not like that entry, unfortunately, in the Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
It has nothing to do with him.
it's
It's
so-
not. It really has not much to do with him. It's
so
just
funny. Like I brought up Star Wars, and it was kind of like it followed the same trajectory as Star Wars when like they brought it
A lot of-
back. And,
yeah,
you know, like,
yeah, absolutely.
in a way.
But what else, Julie? What else you got there? Like,
I think it's a great entry in like action adventure movies, like quest, like Discovery Quest type movies. Like it's great. It's great. I just feel like she got outshined by the other actors a bit. And yeah, she is convincingly annoying where she's getting kidnapped and screaming for help.
It's, I think if a character is annoying the shit out of you, it's like they're doing the job. Right?
but it's
Yeah,
like
I know. That's kind of like in any entry of like Paul Dano's fucking filmography. If I'm like, I already hate him, but if I am watching the movie and I especially hate him, I'm like, I guess he's doing a good job.
But I feel like they're really doing disservice to the storyline if the character's so fucking annoying and they want us to like her and actually make you think that these two should like there's a romance here. Then they literally have moments where like there's that cute scene, kind of like cutesy, where he's like, "Where does it hurt?" and she's kissing him, and then he fucking falls asleep. Like, what the fuck was
Yeah.
that? It's like it was just like you couldn't
Too
even get.
cool for it.
Yeah.
I think, and like because I haven't seen Star Wars and I hadn't seen any of this, I wasn't like really aware of Harrison's like heartthrob era until now.
What'd you think about him in this movie?
He's He's very handsome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's a star.
He does very well. He's very convincing as this charismatic professor.
I'll
What I do have beef with is like, there's no way this guy's got enough energy after being a fucking university professor or whatever he's doing.
I have something similar when we get to questions that has.
Okay. There's no way he has enough time or energy to do all this fucking shit he's doing.
Well, that's the thing. In a way, you almost don't want to blame the guy for collapsing in the middle of.
He
that
fell
thing.
asleep because he was fucking tired, dude.
Well, dude, just this is following the fisticuffs he has with that big juice bag.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have a lot of problems with it. I liked it. I don't have much to say, like as far as dislikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really even me. Like the things I brought up was like really stretching it, where I'm like, I got to point something out in terms of being critical towards the film. Because for me, it's like an all timer. Like this is like, again, one of my favorite movies. So
this is very Spielberg though. Like you guys were saying before, it's when you just, I think it's,
but again,
I think I blame that partially.
Lucas is in the mix. Lucas is in the mix,
Yeah,
right? Like this is
I
what's
know, but I don't know enough of his, right? I don't know enough of his catalog.
he doesn't
like,
have a lot.
But I do know enough of Spielberg's catalog to make a judgment call. I'm like, this feels very Spielberg. And part of that is due to practical effects. And part of that is due to just the layout, the story structure, the production, like the whole bit. It does really feel Spielberg. But again, yeah, that might also be a Lucas quality, but I don't know enough.
Also, like
Yeah,
the
they
big
have
thing,
similar sensibilities. I
absolutely,
they're
they're peers.
Kinda,
Yeah, they're peers and they're friends. And also like, and that's what I mean. There's so few examples that people can point to where people worked this well together in this sense. Like that's like, honestly, like it's a shame because like, I feel like sometimes when people, it's the right place, right time, right people come together, like you can just create something magical. Like that's what I think this film is. Like it's great that this actually happened and they got this off the ground. And not only that it was a success. Right. And honestly, like the thing with them too is that Lucas after this, like he didn't really go off. Like he went off and did those other Star Wars movies before he sold the property, which weren't really well received. And he directed those 3 films, the episodes 1, the 3 movies,
which I personally love, but
because that was your Star Wars, probably. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
But I will say they've aged even better in the wake of. Sorry, this is like a tangent.
They're better than the new ones.
Yeah, and
I agree.
The new ones have made people appreciate the prequels
That's
more.
right.
They're like,
That's
wow,
right.
these are actually kind of like.
I've never seen a single George Lucas movie.
Yeah. He hasn't done too much. Like he's been involved in a lot more than he's actually directed.
He never had to do anything after Star Wars, and that's
right.
The blessing.
True, I guess that makes sense.
That movie was.
If I look at his producer credits, I've probably seen a few, but
how about you, Max? Likes, dislikes?
Yeah,
anything else?
This movie's like it's hard to really like pick at it. Like as I think for what it's trying to accomplish, it does it in spades, and it's I love it actually. But dislikes, no. I think the only thing I dislike about the movie, and this is sort of like kind of like has nothing to actually do with the movie, but like the philosophy of the Indiana Jones character, I find a little like I just don't like because like the whole thing where he's like going into these places.
Oh, you're subscribing to the fact that this guy's just a thief. He makes archaeological just look bad, right?
The whole his catchphrase, "If this belongs in a museum,"
right?
I to be honest with you, I don't really like that shit because last year.
No, this is a popular thing that people talk about.
I didn't know that because I'm not on these
yeah,
forums like that. But last year I went to the museum they have in Detroit, the one that has like the Diego Rivera mural. It's really a good museum. We're like it was so they have all this stuff. They have paintings. They have all like an ancient Egyptian section, whatever. And we go into the ancient Egyptian section, and they have actual like pharaohs, like bodies of pharaohs in their thing. And I'm like, well, this is kind of disgusting. Like they like laid a guy's body, and now it's like for everyone to see. It's like it's that to me that's kind of just sick, kind of like
desecrating tombs.
Yeah, desecrating tombs and essentially robbing foreign cultures.
Some people look at it that way.
Resources, and so he's going into like the jungles of Peru and taking an idol for what? So it can sit in a fucking glass thing. Like
that's always is because like clearly he doesn't do it for the money. He does it more for the thrill. But his excuse is the fact that, like you said, make sure it ends up in a
Yeah.
museum. Like that was the thing he
This
said
thing
in this movie
belongs
more
in a
than one.
museum.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he's in a way he's protecting it.
He wants
from
people to appreciate the
thieves.
history as opposed to like lose it to time.
Yeah.
Right? That is a theme that goes on throughout these movies, but this is actually a popular
Is
a
it?
conversation
Okay, I'm glad I'm
online.
not the only one
No,
that
no,
thinks
this is
that.
a popular conversation online because obviously in the wake of things like this, we've had things like Tomb Raider where they're just straight up just robbing shit for the money
Yeah.
and the fame and everything else or
And
whatever else.
I
Like,
guess I remember in the third one, there's this whole thing where he's like fighting a guy, and the thing is like I guess he's like the good thief because he wants to put it in a museum,
right,
and the bad thieves want to like sell it on the black market or some
right,
shit.
right.
But
Bullock.
overall, it's just the whole thing of like desecrating cultures. It's a bit jarring to me now watching this. I was like, I don't like.
No, there's a divide of people that
Yeah.
actually do think that a little bit, and
Yeah.
also apparently there was somebody that I heard that like an actual archaeologist that I'm fucking up the word there a little bit, but he basically said, related to JTism, he basically said like this movie was the worst thing for the profession, essentially, because people said that basically like coming off the heels of this movie, I think the perception of what they do was skewed as a
Whip
result.
people and fucking
Yeah.
jump out of planes and shit.
So I get it. I understand the discourse of that conversation that went on as a result of that, right?
That's the only thing I can think of because
Fair.
as an actual movie, I have no problems with
Yeah,
it.
yeah. That's fair.
The actual craft.
Okay.
involved.
Well, let's get into some fun facts then about the film. I have some interesting info about this. Okay, I mentioned the whole thing about purposely the set pieces were set up every 10 minutes, something to happen. You know, how they based that on older films. Lucas originally had called the character in his original conception of this Indiana Smith, which is fucking terrible. Thank God that someone changed the name there. Indiana Smith was the original name that he had come up with. The other name came later with help from his writers. And as I mentioned, originally he was supposed to be more of like a ladies' man, like James Bond or a womanizer, some would say,
like
right?
The inspiration for the character, right? Is the James Bond.
Well, yeah, that
Which
and
makes
like
sense
Buck
why,
Rogers and Zorro, like things like that. Like
which
those
makes sense why they got Sean Connery to play the dad. It's
right.
It kind of came full circle.
It does, yeah. This is an impressive stat. Listen to this. This movie was in theaters for more than a year.
Wow.
This debuted at the #1 spot, then fell out of the #1 spot the following couple of weeks afterwards because of other things that came out. And then it remained at #1 for 9 weeks in a row. And then it continued to remain in the top 10 movies in theaters list for 40 weeks in a row. And it was in theaters for a total of 13 months when this was out in 1981 to 1982. Debuted in July 1981 and was in theaters till August of 1982. That is insane. That would never happen today.
They must have made bank at box office.
Obviously, because it was the highest grossing film of 1981.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it also helped that it was in the theaters the whole year, or at least half the year, by 1981. But yeah. This is an interesting stat I came across that I'm really happy to have found out because of my fond memories about owning this on VHS. Apparently, this was the biggest selling VHS of the 80s. As part of a signing deal they made with Michael Eisner, who at the time worked for Paramount as president and COO from 1976 to 1984. Michael Eisner, of course, after 1984, went to become the president of Disney, as most people know him for. And he kind of figured out the market for home viewing at the time for VHS, because at that time it was very expensive. It was like more than $100 to buy a movie on VHS. And that's why like people with people that had movie stores would purchase them, and they would make their money back after renting it so many times. Home viewing wasn't really something that was made for people that could afford it at that time, because it was $100 back then was like even more money, right? Like probably a couple $100, right? So due to this, they offered this movie for $40 in comparison at the time compared to other movies when this actually came out in VHS. And Eisner also famously was responsible for going over to Disney and after Paramount met Paramount and created the idea of the Disney Vault method. As you may know, Julie, about how movies after a couple of months would go into the Disney Vault and you could never buy them on VHS again. And he created this whole kind of scheme, kind of like to get people to buy into VHSs, and they started using their VHSs for more affordable pricing at that time, right? So
just to put that stat in perspective about your $100, that's the equivalent of $326 today.
Shit. So yeah, so it was not an affordable thing. That's why movie stores
$100 is not an affordable thing. That's crazy.
No, but that's why movie rental stores were a big deal then, right? So
yeah.
And that's how they created a business for themselves.
Yeah.
And then streaming killed them, right? So
yeah.
1982 Oscars. This film was nominated for 9 categories. It was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Cinematography, Best Music Score. They didn't win any of those, but they were nominated and won, which makes sense, as Lucas tends to do with his films. Basically, all the technical ones: best art direction, best sound, best film editing, best visual effects, as well as a special achievement award for sound effects editing that they presented with them at the time for this film. So they won 5 Oscars. As I mentioned earlier, famous movie reviewer Pauline Kael was not that enthusiastic about this film in her review due to the fact she'd seen the way the movies were going throughout the 80s. Wasn't a fan of this, and the fact that it started out, franchises were becoming more of a common thing at that time. The famous scene of the guy getting shot with the sword fighting scene, which was one of my favorite scenes. This was an interesting fact I came across. I never knew this. It was basically made up in the moment as a result of many of the crew, including Harrison Ford, getting dysentery on their trip to Tunisia.
Oh my God.
So apparently a bunch of them were sick, and Harrison Ford was unable to basically do this like whip scene because of that. So that he's basically like, why don't I just shoot this guy then? And it actually became, as a result, one of the most iconic, funny action scenes.
It's hilarious. Yeah.
I love that. Like the guy's like comes through with all his like fancy sword work, and dude just comes around and just blasts him and walks away. But that was because he was sick, and apparently a lot of the crewmen were sick. And the guy that apparently he was tasked to do all that sword fighting, he was pissed because this guy had been training for like 8 weeks to do that scene. And then
the entire crew has diarrhea. Basically, you can't fight.
Yeah. So there's that. That was a great thing, and as I mentioned, that it was filmed in Tunisia, which is in North Africa, and where many of the parts of Cairo for the film were filmed, and a lot of the other stuff was done in sound stages in London. And speaking on that, the site of the Well of Souls scene was done on the same sound set just a few weeks earlier that Jack Nicholson did in the lobby of the Overlook Hotel in The Shining, because Kubrick famously filmed a lot of his films in London as well, in like where he lived, right? So that's very interesting, I thought. And
Ford, Shining, another one on my list.
Oh my God. and Ford did a bunch of his own stunts for this film as well, and was
cool.
During the production. He kind of went on to do that throughout his career. He's not like on the level of like a Tom Cruise, but he would do shit now and then. And there's a couple instances where he actually got injured during some of these stunts in these movies, right? So
pretty damn close, actually. I think
in terms of the Tom Cruise comparison, I mean, I would say Tom Cruise is on another level. I would say
Tom
at this
Cruise
point
is on a level on by himself.
Yeah,
so you can't really compare it.
I think he has to deal with all the flack. He's got to have some redeeming quality.
But actually, Harrison Ford, I think, is one of the highest grossing leading men. Like, as far as you're the leading man of your movie.
Bro, he was in Star Wars, Blade Runner, and this. Like,
in a wild run.
And that's like just scratching the surface of his successful films. Yeah. Crazy.
All those movies in the 90s,
classic movies though, like those movies alone, like look at the franchises he's part of: Indiana Jones and Star Wars, and he's in Blade Runner, and he's reprised all those roles as well as those characters. Insane, absolutely insane. Yeah, you're right, throughout the 80s he was the leading man. Absolutely, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's fantastic. But yeah, that's my fun facts, and we can kind of get into scenes and quotes if you guys are down from here, if that's the case.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, so I kind of already mentioned some of them at the start there, which are my favorite. But again, I can't stress enough how cool it was seeing young Alfred Molina at the start of this movie.
I feel like that character is just yelling or like shouting, like screaming every like ah. like in every scene he's in is kind of hilarious.
The
Like,
part where he turns and he's got like 1,000 spiders on his back, I was like, oh my god! When I was seeing that for the first time, I was like, that was terrifying. I'm like, oh my god, because it's funny. He's like got like 4 spiders on Harrison Ford's back. He takes them off and he turns around. There's like 30 spiders on his back, covered in them. He's like the spiders, and then like Indiana Jones, like that whole sequence of events of him like figuring out all the booby traps and shit like that, and like Alfred Molina just like sweating his ass off as they're going through there. I love it, man. It's honestly again my favorite opening of a film probably ever. That whole and the rolling ball just fantastic. Like so fucking cool. Apparently that was made out of like styrofoam.
yeah.
And they created the sounds obviously outside of like whatever it was rolling down. Wait, not a fan of the rolling ball? Don't tell me that.
I had a physics gripe with that a little bit. Not physics, sorry, but like because it comes down this big ramp, he could have avoided running from it by just going underneath it, under the ramp. Like he had time. But
You had no time, Julie. What do you mean? He was trying to run out of there. The walls were closing.
this is like when the building is falling and people are running the length of the building, run this way.
Julie, he almost lost his bullwhip when the fucking ceiling was closing on it. Throw me the idol.
Yeah.
Throw me the whip.
It's such a funny weapon to have too, the whip.
Oh, it's fantastic though. You've never seen like that bullwhip used to this like the extent of coolness. Between
I
that
think it popularized the coolness of the whip.
First of all, he's already pulling off a fedora. Then he has a whip on top of it. Like,
it's not a very common weapon.
no, or like he's pulling it off. He's pulling it off. Come on, you gotta give it up to him.
Yeah.
Look how many jams he gets out of. The best use of the whip I found this time around upon this viewing, I thought, was when the guy literally whips that big statue and like pulls it into the wall and like destroys that wall in the tomb that they're stuck in. That was badass. I was like, how did this guy think of that? To like the whip's that strong? He's just pulling down these ancient like big statues.
Pillars, yeah.
So yeah, great stuff. I mean, again, the opening intro I had to talk about it a little bit more, but I mean, even they're so smart. Even the setup of him running out into the plane to get away, and right there they end on the note of establishing the fact that he's scared of snakes, which comes out later in the film. Like right there at the start of the movie, they're like, "Oh, this guy's scared of snakes." Like when he freaks out about the snake being in the plane.
Snakes on a plane.
Yeah, and then there's the quote there where he's like, "Jock, there's a snake in the plane, Jock." He's like, "Oh, that's just my pet snake, Reggie." He's like, "I hate snakes, Jock. I hate them."
And yeah, he like tells him to grow some balls or something. Yeah.
Oh man, so good stuff. How about you? You guys want to throw out a scene out there or quote?
The drinking contest.
Yeah.
Marianne and that chick.
That's her best scene. That's her best scene, honestly, in my opinion.
There's this really awesome YouTube channel I recommend it for you guys to check out called Every Frame a Painting, and they do like these little short like film essays about like movies and stuff. And one of their greatest videos that I watched like time and time over throughout the years is called the Spielberg Oneer. A lot of people don't like, you know, when you talk about long takes and stuff like that, people always think of like that scene in like Goodfellas or something, or like, you know, whatever Paul Thomas Anderson scenes, or like James Gunn has these like long take scenes where like, you know, like the Guardians Volume 3 in the hallway. Like people always talk about long takes, but they always talk about the ones that are always like showing attention on themselves, like that are noticeable. Like you can tell this is directed. I didn't realize until it was pointed out to me that whole drinking contest is one take. That it is actually being like 4 shots
back and forth.
And that's kind of the premise of that.
I never noticed that either. Actually, that's a good point.
I didn't, and that was the premise of that guy's video. Is that Spielberg often does that, where he'll do long takes, but he does them in ways that you don't even notice that they're long takes.
That's smart.
And that's sort of the genius, because it's like 4 shots. He shows the woman, shows the table, shows the woman, and then it's just a back and forth.
Speaking of that, I know about that. I know about this, and I know you know about it too. Well, so why don't you explain it quickly? The whole Soderbergh thing that he did. Why don't you explain what he did with this footage to explain how good the framing is in this film? Essentially,
Soderbergh is talking about something that I personally don't really know. I've heard this word many times before. Maybe Julie, you'll know. something called blocking.
Yeah,
What
blocking
is
and
that?
framing.
What is actually blocking? Because that's something I have to look
I think
up.
it's where all the people stand in the
Where they
frame,
stand, it's like
essentially.
where they are composed, basically.
I think
right
it's
in the-
like remember we were talking about when we were talking about the comic earlier about the layout on a page. I think it's more framing of the scene.
where are you gonna put the characters? Where are you
Exactly.
gonna
I
put-
think
okay.
Spielberg is like apparently the master of that. People
Yeah,
claim,
so-
and that's why I think
so-
Soderbergh was trying. I think I might be wrong, but I think that's what blocking is. Julie's probably looking at about that right
Julie,
now. So.
Julie with the clutch lookups.
But go ahead.
I'm trying to fix something in StreamYard. Sorry, what were you saying about blocking?
Blocking, yeah. Do you know what that is, Julie? I figured maybe you would know because you're in photography, or I don't know if that is related to photography or if that's specific to film.
The precise arrangement of movement of actors and other elements within a scene. Okay,
So
that's
that would
what.
have
Yeah,
to be video. That's not still
including the
photography.
camera to create a visually compelling and narratively meaningful sequence.
Okay, so
it's framing and blocking. Yeah.
the reason why is because that's what's like. You can guys Google this and you can see it on Soderbergh's blog or whatever. He released an edit of Raiders of the Lost Ark
In
where
black and white.
in black and white.
Yeah.
He took out all the scene, he took out all the music, he took out all the dialogue, and he injected the Social Network soundtrack for some reason. I mean, it's a banging ass soundtrack. I mean, maybe the greatest of all time, but he just put it in the movie. And the whole premise of it was so that people could actually just study the blocking and the editing of the movie. That's what they're just focusing on. And
also the story is still 100% being conveyed while you're watching it without any of the words. So it's like a silent film perfectly created.
I would love to watch it in its entirety.
I've heard about this. That's why I remember you had talked to me about it at one point as well. So that's why I was like, yeah.
Soderbergh has also kind of been pointed out as like a savant when it comes to editing and positioning and stuff. And so Soderbergh was sort of just giving all praises due to Spielberg, saying like he always comes back to Raiders of the Lost Ark. He always studies that. He always studies the blocking and editing. He looks at it. He said it's like a master class of that. Like every shot is perfect. Every scene is is perfectly done. And then it's also become a sort of like a running kind of thing that a lot of people will run to the Social Network soundtrack when they're like doing their homework or whatever. Like that's like a popular I'm studying soundtrack kind of thing because it's like, I guess from what the theme of that movie is. And so even Soderbergh was saying like he made this edit for the purposes of study. And I think that's sort of why people linked it to.
Yeah.
Oh, he also said that David Fincher is very good at that too. So that's
Sure.
why I guess that's the connection between the two.
Right.
The
Yeah, I just thought that was an interesting fact about this
Yeah.
as well. Like he actually he was such a fan of this that he had to go and illustrate that using his own methods as well to show viewers that that's the case and how good Spielberg is at doing it. Right. Julie, how about you? Favorite scenes?
I wrote down 2. I have the fight scene where the guy pulls out the machete and Andy shoots him. That's a hilarious scene.
It's other than the intro, that's my favorite scene.
My other favorite scene, just because it was funny, it was like campy and also like not like the sound is not based in reality, so that made me laugh. Was when he busts that wall down in the testing site.
Yes.
And then she has to walk through that room of essentially dead bodies and skeletons, and they're all screaming for some reason. Like, it's all for effect, but, like, it was just funny how the screaming, every face that appeared, there was a new scream.
Yeah.
And, like, maybe it's meant to illustrate that these are, like, haunted corpses or something, but, like, it was a funny scene. I don't have that many favorite lines either. Like, there was a couple that stuck out to me that I jotted down. That when she's getting kidnapped in the market and she's like, "You can't do this to me. I'm an American." My other one is also about Americans. That when Tote says, when he like comes into that tent that they're in and she's in the gown.
Oh yeah.
It's like, "Oh, we meet again, Fraulein. You Americans, you're all the same, always overdressing for the wrong occasions."
Yeah. What's that Nazi's name again? The one the main
Tote.
bad guy? Yeah. Well, so I like when he shows up at the bar the first time. He's like, "Good evening, Fraulein." Like he's like such an atypical like Nazi man.
He's like a Bond villain.
Totally.
Yeah.
I love the shootout in the bar.
Oh yeah, that's good
so
too.
sick.
That's good too. Yeah, that's good stuff. I like that one a
And
lot.
the fire is coming around the bar. He's gotta back up.
Also, I mean, going outside of him shooting the guy in the market with her getting in the basket, leading into basically that chase that happens later on with the the car chase, basically the huge car chase where he's on top of the car fighting them, he's swinging into the car fighting them, like that whole sequence, like you know, of him fighting on the cars, and he goes underneath the car and he has to scale like underneath the actual moving vehicle, and he comes all the way around the back and then swings in the window. Like that whole scene when he's fighting them on the moving vehicles and like some of them flying off the cliffs and all that, that was a great, I don't know how many minutes that was, like several minutes of like action as well. I really enjoyed those moments. I thought they were really well done for the time period as well. Like, you know, that's stuff that obviously you would see later on, and even prior to, I guess, in the first one, but maybe not to the extent of the later movies, like a Mad Max type of deal or something like that, you know, almost in that sense. Obviously not as crazy as those films, but like, you know, in the sense that like there's people fighting on vehicles and stuff like that. I thought that was really cool, those moments. Mm-hmm. Also, I liked basically the final scene when they open up the Ark is fucking cool too. Awesome. When you see those guys' faces get melted, like that's classic. Like, and again, I think it's like this slow mo. Like I feel like they kind of melted a face, and they just kind of like they filmed it melting, and then they kind of like sped it up. It seems like when their flesh is kind of peeling off of their face. Yeah. It's one of those things where like you could clearly tell like it's like a dummy, like with his fake face, but it just looks so cool in the moment. Yeah, it's just like classic, like that scene of him there, and then the one guy's head just explodes. The main guy, Bella,
yeah,
even melts. It just like explodes. It's like some Scanners type shit where it just his head explodes. So I like that a lot. That scene too. Like obviously they got their comeuppance at the end with that whole scene, right? So.
But I think that's what makes it like fantastical, that it doesn't look realistic. I hate when you see like violence in movies and it looks realistic. It looks disgusting. Like I like the fantasy of it. I like the false reality of it. So
any other scenes you got over there or quotes?
I like the scene when Marianne is her name Marianne?
Yeah.
When she's like drinking Marianne with that like French dude.
Yeah.
And they're
Belloc?
Belloc, and they're like pouring the thing, and I don't know, she's kind of sexy with that little dress she's wearing. She's kind of
I'd like to see you in this dress. I bet you would.
I don't know. I was digging her a lot, actually. I thought she was like.
No, I like her in those scenes too.
And then she gets into it, and then she kind of switches her vibe, and then she's like, I kind of like it. Yeah.
Got the knife.
Well, I mean, at this point, she's like pissed off at Indiana Jones because the fucking guy could have saved her, and he left her there. And he's like, no, I gotta leave here.
We can't, if I let you go now, it's gonna blow our cover. Yeah. They're gonna look for us and find us.
Yeah, I mean, like some great love story here. Like this fucking guy leaves her.
Meant to be, though. Like,
no, it's not.
What,
yeah.
Like you pointed out, he has a different chick in every movie.
Yeah.
So, I have that other line from that Belloc says that like he bought this thing off a street vendor. And if you bury it in the sand for 100 years, then it becomes a priceless artifact. That's a good line.
So in addition to that one, there's another great line that he has where he follows up on that kind of line of thinking later on. Belloc actually has a couple of good kind of scenery chewing type moments where he's really kind of like, you know, he's being a great bad guy. Like he has all these great lines. So there's another moment where they're actually in the pit, and then the other Nazi throws Marianne in the pit, and he's standing above him, and he's just like, he's like, oh, we're very all comfortable up here. So once again, Jones, what was briefly yours is now mine. What a fitting end to your life's pursuits. You're about to become a permanent addition to this archaeological find. Who knows? Maybe in 100 years, you'll even be worth something. And then Indiana Jones always like grumbles about this guy. He's like, fucking Belloc. Like he's just like miserable the whole time. He's just a grouch. That's Harrison Ford's like go-to. He's a grouch and everything. Mostly.
And that's what I think of him as now. Having seen this now, I'm like, oh, I get it. I now understand this era that he came from, where he kind of was this heartthrob guy for a bit. Because to me, he's just been like the gruff, grumpy old guy.
But that he always was like that. In these movies, he was like that. In Star Wars, he was like that. And even in Blade Runner, he was like that.
True.
Like, yeah, he's a grouch in all of those films, sort of.
Yeah.
Right, but then he gets his ass whooped, so you would be upset, like as well, like this guy always is given these like impossible tasks in these movies.
I mean,
right?
imagine going into a temple that nobody makes out alive, and you actually do get in there. You get the little head idol, and then you come out of it, and then the second you get out of it, some fucker just steals it from you. pissed off.
Yeah,
too.
Belloc is there at every turn.
Well,
Well, that's
another chance for me to steal.
right.
They call him Belosh. Ah, fucking Belloc. Yeah.
Hello, shit. They call him
What's
Belosh.
that line? He's like, "Oh, you made another discovery, and I've like,
Yeah.
take it from you." Or
Yeah.
something. Like, yeah.
Well, that's what, like, when he comes out of the temple at the start, the Peruvian temple with the idol, he like literally rolls out, like just makes it, and all of a sudden he gets up. There's all these guys with the blow darts, and he's like in his face. He's like, "What the hell?" And Belloc's there. He's like, "Ah, Mr. Joe."
You got him to do all the dirty work.
Yeah, exactly. There's also a great line by him where there's a moment where he's gonna go after the truck there after like they, after them, like before that big truck action sequence, and he says there, he's like, "Oh, I'm going after the truck." And she's like, "How?" He's like, "I don't know. I'm making this up as I go," which is basically like explains like his whole. Like every time, that's basically what he does. He's just basically just doing shit as he comes up with it. He doesn't know like his next
Improv.
right? Yeah. And then finally, the scene with the arc at the end. I liked Belloc's when he calls his bluff, when he comes and he has that bazooka and he's like, he's not going to destroy this. He cares about these artifacts. You want to see me open this too, don't you? And he actually calls his bluff in that scene. And he's just like, he like stalls. And then by the time he like actually he's going to maybe come up with this, like what he's going to do, there's like goons behind him and they take him prisoner. And that's when they tie up him and Marianne.
Yeah.
But the line that he says to him, he's like, "Indiana, we are simply passing through history. This is history." Like basically like knowing that he was not going to destroy it because he, like himself, actually has a love for what they were doing, right? That's the thing. Belloc just basically got hired by the Nazis. Like he actually did have an appreciation for this shit, but he was just a scumbag. Right. Yeah. Here's the thing, like in comparison, he's way worse than Indiana Jones in terms of like him grabbing all these artifacts because he is doing it for his own, like, you know what I mean? Like wealth and everything else. Like Indiana Jones claims that that's not the case, but I guess there's some moral kind of stuff there where you're like, whether or not, like you mentioned,
I do like
right.
that they do show that character having somewhat of a moral ground because you could see when they start handling Marianne, you could see he's like visibly disturbed by it and stuff like that. So yeah, it was like,
but again, he chooses the artifact over her. He could have saved her there, but he's like, no, I care about that. He called him out his bluff, right? So it's just like, it's interesting. I think that's kind of.
I was referring to the scene when they throw her in the pit.
Oh, sure.
Like,
but even the thing I was talking about, like he doesn't care about her that much, like clearly, right? Like it's funny that they kind of. They act like she's the one that got away at the start when they introduce her, but then it turns out like she's just another, it's just another fling, I feel like, for him, right? And his adventures.
I mean, wait, is she the mom of the Shia LaBeouf?
Yeah, she is. So that's why I said later on in the films, I think they took notice of this and tried to correct that.
Was the one that
yes. And even in the last film, but again, I don't want to spoil anything, but in the last film, his heart is still like he loves this shit. Like he loves doing this.
He's in it for the love of the game.
Yes, exactly. He's not in it like as much as, and I think by the end of his, the chapter for the end of his road for Indiana in the last film, she also has come to accept that. Like she understands that that's who he is. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like it really came full circle on a lot of the ideas that weren't really well executed, I feel like, in this first film with them. So, yeah, I don't have really too much else. If you guys have anything else, I have a couple of small things, but
I mean, I just want to say, I think why this movie is good is that it's really just one great scene after another. Like, and then, I think what I really appreciate about Spielberg's filmmaking and how he understands how to make a film very well because he understands, hey, I'm not going to waste time on BS. Let's just hit him with a good scene after another good scene. Like he understands that very, very well. And I think that's why his films have had the success they've had,
Yeah.
So, because I'm thinking of like favorite scenes and it's just all of them. Like I like the one when they're in the airplane. The airplane is moving in a 360 degree like thing, and
I
trapped in it.
I even like the scene where he explains to like the FBI guys, he's explaining and breaking down the covenant, like the Ark of the Covenant and the 10 Commandments, how he's like the real 10 Commandments. Like, yeah, he's like, it's supposed to be. He's like,
you believe in that kind of
he's
thing?
like, you guys ever went to Sunday school? Like, what's wrong with you? You don't know this? Like, he's looking at them like they're like, you should know this shit. Yeah. But then you could see him nerding out like in front of them about like all this stuff, and his mind's like going. something. And he starts like drawing the stuff on the chalkboard. I get jazzed up about that too. I was like, oh yeah, this is awesome. Like I was like, you could tell like he really sells his enthusiasm for it. Like in that scene, I felt like it. I really actually like that scene a lot.
Very interesting ending, I would say, because it's almost like they kind of
so open ended. That's my favorite. It's such a good ending.
Kind of did like
bureaucracy.
It wasn't like what does he say?
Bureaucratic fools. That's what he says. He gets
like,
all
things really end for the best kind of thing. It wasn't kind of like a good ending in that
sense.
I figured it was a setup for the sequel.
No, they never follow up on what happens.
But like, they're taking the crate
because the sequel actually takes place before this film.
By the way,
but whatever one was meant to follow it,
never followed up with it. Never.
By the way, that's my favorite line in the movie. The whole top. It's being handled by top men. Who top? Men?
Yeah,
that's the best.
But I think it goes back to again like trust of the government. Like he did all this shit to get that artifact back, and all it does but all they did with it was throw it in a warehouse full of whatever other fucking shit is in that warehouse.
That's the thing is that all these other crates, God knows what's in there.
Right.
They're like similar sort of artifacts.
But that's why the imagination, like it's. I love that scene because it really leaves you on a note where you're like, well, like not only what did they accomplish here, but like what else is in there? Yeah, like it's just. And then for the follow up, like to your point, Julie, they don't even follow up on that. They're just like, they're going to tell you another story, like another adventure, right? So it's ballsy. Like it's like today, like people care too much about explaining every fucking thing to you, whereas here they're just like you're like, you know what, this is a cool fucking idea. Let's just throw that out there. I love it. I love that ending.
I mean I like it too. But what I was saying, it was like I don't know if it was like the good guys kind of won at the end. It was just like, oh, they gave it to these government assholes and they're just gonna take it away. Kind of.
Who knows what happens
from here, right? Like that. Yeah. That ending we always see.
We'll take it from here, Mr. Bond.
We'll take it from here. You know what I mean? All that hard labor.
I know. Well, that's what he says. He basically says like bureaucratic fools. And he's like, "What the hell just happened?" And they're just like, they're just like, I don't know. Like they just leave, and then then all of a sudden they cut away to that scene.
It's a very weird ending. It's
very weird. I dig it.
Walks away. I mean, I like it too. I think it, but it's you don't expect it. I don't think on the first one.
I make reference to that scene all the time in my everyday life because whenever somebody says, "Oh, where did something go?" I'm like, "Oh, it's in the same warehouse with the Ark of the Covenant," like shit like that. I make reference to it in my honestly. I think such a nerdy reference, but like half the time people don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about when I say that shit. But it's like if you know the scene, you know like they're like it's something where you're never gonna see that again, like in that warehouse, right? So so I always make reference to it. I dig it a lot, right? Okay, so moving on to we've made good time on this because again, it's just really not too much to dive into past some of the facts here because it's just a pretty solid film, honestly. Like questions. One of my questions was, is Indiana Jones just a glorified tomb robber? So there we go. I mean, we talked about that.
Yeah. I guess is he like an actual like morally a good
person? Right. And then the other thing is something that Julie somewhat I think touched on along the lines of I said, how is he able to do all this? Like, what exactly are his hours at this fucking university where he could just take off? Yeah. And it seems like his handler's like his boss at the university.
They're
so like,
that shit,
right. And then like, he's also like the person who sells the artifacts for him. And he makes reference to the fact that he also used to do it. Cause there's a scene where before when he comes back to him after meeting with the FBI, he's like, yeah, they're going to pay us a lot of money and it's a done deal. And they're going to send you out there and blah, 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 blah. And he's like, if I was a younger man, I'd join you, but I can't do it anymore or whatever. But it's just like the fact that he just goes off on a whim, like on these adventures.
He was a hostage for like a huge part of the movie.
Like a ridiculous premise in a sense, but that's what's just so great about it in the same way. Like, is that he teacher by day, archaeological, like you know what I mean? Like
he's
by night, like you know what I mean? Like because he fucks off for how long?
I bet you his students love him. They're like, fuck, I don't have to do my homework like for another month.
Like, how about that girl with her eyelids where she put "I love you" on them, which is awesome.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, that was funny.
I believe it.
But
he's like fucking Cyber 6. He's a teacher during the day and like
Cyber 6.
I know
hero at night.
I know the cartoon you're referencing. I've never seen it.
Reboot shirt.
I do. Yeah, I'm wearing a reboot shirt right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But yeah, no, Christine actually is a big fan of, I think, of that Cyber 6.
Yeah,
I never really watched that. I'm aware of it though, but yeah, so it is pretty crazy, right, Julie, that they actually were like pulling this off. Like, yeah, I that's my one, like, how is this possible type question. But
yeah, like I guess they broke for the summer, and he got to go off on some fucking gallivanting adventure.
gotta suspend disbelief and
Like, what is he doing this on the weekends? Like,
Yeah,
he went
yeah.
to the
Yeah, no, so-
No, it's
raiding a zoo on the
ridiculous. It's
weekends.
ridiculous. Yeah. And they really don't spend enough time with that part of the film either. Like, you just show him
Yeah.
at school. Like, this guy knows what he's talking
And
about.
do the students
Also,
know what he's doing?
he
Like,
ends up back at the school after the Peru thing. Like, he's like, you know what I mean? Like,
summer's over, back to school.
right. Like, it's ridiculous.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, any other, did you guys have any questions though, other than that? Or I think
Nah,
those
I
are
ain't
the-
come up with any.
those are the two big ones I think about this movie, honestly. Like, and what happened to the arc, obviously, at the end. which
Yeah,
it's like the briefcase in Pulp Fiction. You'll never know. Like, right?
you'll
It's
never
just like-
know.
so, anyways,
Something shiny and gold, and that's all we know.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Movie pairings.
oh, I got so many.
Okay, one of you guys want to go first on this one though? I mean, I could throw mine out. You got a
Yeah.
lot. I don't have many, so I can throw mine out.
The Goonies.
Oh.
for sure.
I didn't even think of that. That's a fucking brilliant
sure.
answer. Of course. How did I not think of that one?
The poster, I think, is very similar, isn't it? For the movie.
I feel like when I
It's Spielberg influenced.
Okay, yeah.
well, that's like Lucas and Spielberg, what they were doing in this time period influenced like the entire decade.
That's one of those
all
movies.
the Robert Zemeckis movies, all the Richard Donner.
That's one of those movies that in Gremlins you could have sworn that were his film. Well,
Yeah.
Gremlins he was involved with, but they're movies that weren't directed by him that have basically Spielberg DNA in them, and
Okay.
Poltergeist, which is a rumor that he was involved with. Like, it's very strange. Like, there's all these like really good filmmakers that were working around that period of time that were basically just emulating the vibe that Spielberg was able to put out there with his films. Goonies, that's a great answer pairing.
That's like
yeah,
that's
yeah.
like child Indiana Jones. basically, right?
I love that movie, and that's
Oh
a
my
great.
God,
I know
it's-
Julie hasn't seen it. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, she
yeah,
has seen
yeah.
it.
So
It's on the list.
yeah,
I love that movie.
yeah. I wouldn't. I
And
would.
that's another movie that, like, for kids, but like,
Yes.
it's so well done.
Yes.
Like, you know what I
Yes.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh man, like
No,
that-
great pairing.
that-
Great
that-
pairing.
That
Yeah.
era is so.
What else you got?
Amazing. Yeah, I got a lot of obvious ones too. Like, obviously, fucking National Treasure.
I have that too.
Like-
yeah,
Me
yeah.
too.
National Treasure is better than this, by the way. I just want to put
Get the fuck out of here.
Nicolas Cage is my Indiana Jones.
I feel like the arc going into the warehouse is the Cage is set up to steal the Ark of the Covenant from the warehouse.
No, we're gonna steal the Declaration
Oh
of
my
Independence.
God. I'm kind of a treasure
Well,
hunter myself.
That's pretty good, actually. Nicolas Cage is my Superman, right? Like,
Yeah, get the fuck out of here. Listen, I like National Treasure. How dare you say that? This
the
is your
first and the sequel blow the shit out of these movies. Like, I just want to
Okay.
blow it to bits.
Calm down.
Yeah, Star Wars for sure, because Harrison Ford. And
I'm
like,
sure Julie's co-signing you over there, by the way, too. She's like, National Treasure.
National Treasure. Yeah, we should do that.
I have mixed opinions about Nicolas Cage, so I did think National Treasure was a good movie. Do I think it's
Best performance.
Star
too.
Wars, of course. Yeah, I had that too.
Yeah, Star Wars.
Yeah.
I got, of course, the Uncharted games. Like,
Oh, I didn't think of that.
course,
That's a
like,
good
yeah,
one, though.
video
Yeah, of
games
course.
and,
Yeah.
and this one is a little bit of a left field, but follow me a little bit.
I got one of those too.
Follow me a little bit. Captain America, the first one, the first Avenger, and the first Hellboy.
Well, because I
Because-
had Hellboy on my list too, because it's
Nice.
the supernatural Nazi thing. Yeah,
You know what's
that's
so
why.
interesting? How many stories there are about the Nazis on the verge of like discovering some like mystical.
Well, I
shit.
heard that was a real like he
That-
was
no, I
he
thi-
was
I-
fascinated by that.
That's
stuff.
what I
Like,
believe is a real thing.
No,
because of
I
how often it's appeared.
No, I
in
believe
media.
that was. I think he
No,
was
yeah.
fascinated by the supernatural stuff.
It
Like,
makes
I
me
believe,
like,
he-
not
why do
even-
you think they robbed all that art and all these artifacts? Like they were doing
Yeah,
that during that
totally.
period
They
of time.
totally
They
were.
were, yeah.
And like, not to get into like some conspiracy theory shit, but like it makes me also believe that like the ending of the movie is real. Like there is probably some like U.S. government facility where they have all these like
Yeah.
treasures and like artifacts and like you know what I mean, like
I see what
secret
you're saying.
weapons and
Yeah,
shit.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
like aliens. I don't know if people believe in that type of shit.
I do.
But like
Yeah.
yeah, like they got all these types of like things that people are made to believe are as like fantasy,
Yeah.
but is actually like who knows, that shit could be real. Like fucking time maybe like Porsche portals and shit, how to like, you know, I mean, like I don't know, I believe it. Anti-gravitational shit and stuff.
You basically almost took out like all my picks
Yeah,
here,
sorry,
but yeah,
sorry.
no, good ones. No, but I'm glad we were on the same
Yeah.
kind of matter of.
And the Uncharted movie too, if you want to.
That I didn't think of, but yeah, so basically I put National Treasure, Hellboy, Star Wars, but again it was because of the Nazi supernatural thing.
And that happened in Captain America too. Remember?
That's
with the Red
true.
Skull
I didn't
and
think of
stuff,
that.
the
Yeah,
Tesseract and all that
Yep.
shit.
I also put Conan the Barbarian down here
okay.
because I think that's also like a pulpy kind of character, the Arnold movies. I also put the Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes with what's his name, Robert Downey Jr. and I put that down. Who's the other guy in that? What's his name? Jude Law. Thank you.
Yeah.
For the two pairings I put for the Indiana Jones movies, I put The Last Crusade because that's probably my second favorite movie out of it is my second favorite movie out of the original trilogy, and probably actually out of all of them. To give you a quick ranking, I would probably go this, Last Crusade, and then honestly, probably the newest one. Honestly, like I might have to rewatch it again. It got very mixed reviews, but I liked it. And then I would say Temple of Doom, and then I would say Dial of Destiny.
By the way, also I would throw the James Bond, the Sean Connery.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think for sure.
I would also put, and then my other combo with these movies would be either Last Crusade for movie pairings or Dial of Destiny, because I think it'd be cool to see where it started and where it ended. And actually, in the last movie, like I said, they tie up a lot of the story that it kind of originated in this first film with him and his wife or Marianne and everybody else, right, Marianne? So, and then finally, The Mummy with the Brendan Fraser.
That's a good one.
Of course. Yeah. I think that movie, I haven't watched it in a long time, but it probably holds up. Those were fun movies.
You know what? Even though these aren't good movies, the Tomb Raider.
See, I added that at first and then I removed it because I'm like, those aren't good movies. I just like looking at her.
You can see how much media stuff that this movie influenced.
Oh yeah, of course. Of course.
National Treasure, Uncharted, Tomb Raider,
this is the prototypical, like,
yeah.
Anyways, Julie.
Well, I also put down National Treasure.
Best movie ever made, you know.
I haven't seen all of The Mummy. I've seen parts of it, but I also put that down. I put down let's see here. I put down Mission Impossible.
Nice.
I
put down, it might be kind of a weird one, but I put down Jumanji.
Oh yeah.
I think that's a good pairing. That's cool. I dig it. Yeah.
I got for Spielberg pairings, I put E.T. and Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah.
I wrote down El Dorado.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I also wrote down, I don't know if you guys have seen this, that the Sinbad movie, it was a cartoon.
Yeah, with Brad Pitt, right?
Yeah, that one. I wrote down, okay, so then you have to bear with me on this one too. And I wrote this down while we were talking because of the vibe of he's always gonna love the job more than the woman.
Sure.
Twister.
Okay, yeah. I like it just based on that.
Yeah,
as a theme.
And then I wrote down, I haven't played Uncharted. I'm sure that's an apt pairing, but play the Prince of Persia games. That was the other thing I wrote down.
Those games. Yeah, absolutely. You should. Yeah. And there's also the Jake Gyllenhaal Prince of Persia movie, which I heard's dog shit. But anyways,
I don't care to watch that. I don't need to know if it's.
I don't care to watch that.
No, thank you. I don't think so. I don't want to know. It's probably terrible. I don't want to know.
You know, based on those film recommendations, like you said, Twisters and this, based off the like he doesn't care about the woman. You should do like a fuck boys playlist of film.
Playlist.
That's a good one.
Pop off. That's a good idea.
By the way, you want to hear a Tarantino hot take about Indiana Jones? Have you heard this?
Did he make it?
Yeah, he has one about Indiana Jones.
What did he say? It was shit. Not enough feet.
Nico's about to blow up. He said that The Last Crusade is like horrible, and that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is better.
That's fine. You want to know something?
And he said Temple of Doom is the best one.
You want to know something? I haven't rewatched Kingdom. I haven't rewatched that Shia LaBeouf one probably since it came out.
But he said that is better than the one with Sean Connery.
I disagree.
Yeah,
me too. Sean she's really good in that movie. So yeah, I disagree. But listen, Tarantino's full of them, right? He's full of those hot takes. So. All right, and then finally, guys, as we come to the end here, legacy of the film. I mean, what more can you say that we haven't really stated here? I think it created a beloved franchise, one of Harrison Ford's for its most beloved characters that he's played outside of Han Solo. I think that's the only
Mhm.
other character you can really compare that's made as much of a cultural impact. Even though Blade Runner is a classic, that character, I mean, the characters of Han Solo and Indiana Jones, I think, just outweigh the character of that he plays in Blade Runner there. And like it's as well as it is very important moment in both George Lucas's and Steven Spielberg's careers as filmmakers. And I just think for movies in general, I just think this is like, again, this is a classic, you know, a super well regarded film. I feel like no matter who you speak to, I really, you know, I don't know. I would have a hard time with anybody who just, you know, just hates on this movie, because I don't know. I'd be interested to see. I haven't really heard anybody really say they outright just hate this movie, right? I mean, they could not care for Indiana Jones. Maybe it's not their type of thing, but it's not a bad movie by any means. It's a fantastic movie, and it's one of my favorite. And yeah, I think legacy, just like I said, we've talked about a lot about the legacy and of these filmmakers coming together, and just of this duo. Honestly, this is something that I feel like we'll never see again on that level as it was at this time. So yeah, very cool. I mean, this is Lucas coming off of Star Wars. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, this is not even like, you know, this isn't even like this came before. Yeah, that's insane. Like, and this came after Jaws. Like, these guys already had classics made already, right? Like, so it's pretty insane that they still had enough fuel in the tank to bust out this fucking movie. So I think that alone is worth praising. So there's the legacy for me. How about you guys? Any last words about this film?
The legacy for me is mixed, because it is a fantastic film. I would damn near say flawless. I you know, and the influence is crazy, as we just said, with the pairings, like how much it influenced and how many kids watched this, and then they said like, oh, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, these are the reasons why, these are the guys that made me want to become filmmakers. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so many people have that story, and it's because of movies like Indiana Jones and stuff. But and then also like I said, the ensuing like decades that of like blockbuster filmmaking that it influenced. But I also feel like this Star Wars, like the legacy sort of got like too commercialized for me,
and because of all the sequels as well.
All the sequels, and this has nothing to do with the filmmakers. It's more like the greedy corporations that just got their grubby paws on it. And I feel like in a way they kind of robbed the next generation from having their own heroes, their own original stories, because when you think about it, when this movie came out, when Star Wars came out, these were the first of their kind, right? These were like original things. Nobody had heard about them. Like, the word IP wasn't being used. The word franchise probably wasn't commonplace. They were just movies. Now it's like, you know, all the franchise, like all the movies that the kids are being exposed to are just like 40, 50-year-old recyclings of older stories. And it's kind of makes me sad for the kids these days, where it's like, they don't have their own like original story, that this is their like Indiana Jones, not like Indiana Jones, but this is their own like movie that makes them feel the way that kids made them feel in this sort of way.
A lot of those big studios won't even touch IPs anymore. They want
stuff, right? They won't make creative, like they won't give the opportunity for talented filmmakers to make their own original stories.
So are you arguing that they shouldn't have kept returning to these properties?
Yeah,
or...
I feel like after a while,
but they weren't involved past a certain point.
No, I'm not blaming them.
Right,
I'm not like Spielberg or Lucas.
Right.
I don't hold them against them, because their mission when it came to Raiders of the Lost Ark was, let's just make the best movie we can make, and and they're pure filmmakers in that sense. I'm talking about the studios that wouldn't like let these franchises just be like, leave them in the past. Let the adults who grew up with them, let them show,
because they're not leaving room for other people to.
And I feel bad.
I was just trying to understand what you were saying there.
Because I feel bad for kids who don't have their own stories. They're being left with like recycled stories. Like me, part of me, I love Star Wars, but a part of me wishes Star Wars kind of died. That there is no more Star Wars.
Well,
let's do something
the
else.
problem now, though, is what you're posing is that they're so afraid to make anything they know will not make a certain amount of money these days that sorry, there's some outside.
There's a hot take. Fire truck's coming.
that it actually doesn't also they have to continually run back this shit because they know that it'll make money for them a lot of times. They don't have to, but they choose to, and I think that's the problem more with the industry for sure, right?
Movies, like not just this movie, but many like Jaws and Star Wars. Like this is one of the movies that like spawn that type of thinking,
you know, in a
mentality.
In a way, though, Max, it's actually surprising that there is only 5 of these. You would think past the original trilogy, there could be like 10 of these. The way these movies
for the amount of time it's
honestly
for the we finished it on The Last Crusade. Like I wish they didn't come back to this.
And I'm also glad, though, out of the other 2 films that they did, that Harrison Ford did come back for them. I am glad about that. I'm glad that he didn't abandon it altogether. But then, like you said, it becomes so watered down every time they come back and revisit these same things that, you know, Harrison Ford even admitted, you know, a lot of this shit is money driven, these decisions at this point. Like, he doesn't have any.
He's fucking 80 years old.
Right. I'd be very interested to hear what you have to say about this last film they did, honestly. Like,
part of me is like really like nervous to even approach it because Spielberg isn't involved in that. And it's like
but
Indiana Jones movie that Spielberg
there is no coming back for him, though, the way they ended it. He's 80 something fucking years old. This is they actually ended his story. That's what I liked about it.
I guess with Indiana Jones, they did do that, but I'm like a Star Wars, like
he's 83.
Star Wars die out,
that's that train's gone. Like that's
I know it's a money machine. That's why.
Listen.
By the way, I would be the worst businessman in Hollywood.
Let's not make Star Wars movies.
What if we tried something else? Yeah.
I know all my ideas would never make money, but I feel like they would be beneficial. To
you're in favor
of culture.
You're in favor of
the zeitgeist.
You're Seth Rogen on the studio.
Please don't compare me to that guy, please. But
what are you, that guy from Entourage?
No, you're right though. It's not leaving room for original content.
I would not argue that movies are more important than doctors, but like
that was a fucking wild episode.
What I'm saying about but the reason I said that is because you want to believe in the artist first, but ultimately the position that he's put in that show, that's what it's
not even artist.
He has to make these calls for the studio, right? That's basically what you're talking about. How people
he's
put
kind of a scumbag, like
but he's a reflection of what you're saying about the industry. That's why I was saying
I just kind of wish we just ventured out into newer territories with stories and like give people the kids of today, give them their own heroes, give them their own legends, because like this is a great property, but it belongs to the people of that time. And you know, like I said, adults who are today can show their young kids these movies, and that's awesome. But I'm talking about like newer movies. I kind of just wish we kind of just went somewhere else now. Like,
it'll be interesting to see like what the newest generation, like when they're of our age, like what they're gonna say was like a really impactful movie to them from the same time frame. Like, you know, something that was 20 years ago for them in the future, what they're going to say was like a banger for them. What was so impactful? What's going to be their Indiana Jones?
I know one of my brother's classmates said that like her favorite movie is like Alita Battle Angel. And so like, you know, do you know about that movie?
Battle Angel Alita. Yeah. I read the manga.
Alita, the one that Robert Rodriguez made.
Yeah.
Like, it's a couple years old, but like that's like a movie that'll probably stick out for like kids or whatever. This will be like
a lot of it is based on like Japanese stuff though, like animes and stuff like that, because that's a manga.
They love the newer generation.
I think that anything that's gonna, like, to your point, I think anything that they're gonna be their versions of things is gonna be a lot of anime based stuff, honestly, like
or video game
manga. Exactly.
Too,
honestly, I think that stuff's for them is gonna stand the test of time, because that's more their forms of entertainment in comparison to film. I think.
You know, I remember when like that whole Scorsese Marvel is in cinema thing came out, and then you know Paul Schrader, his writer, said no, Marvel is cinema, and so is video games, and so is anime, so is funny cat videos on TikTok or whatever. Like these are all like visual sort
of the eyes of the beholder, right? I mean, be
influenced by it.
Yep.
So yeah.
Julie, anything fine? The good, well put though. Honestly, yeah. Julie, anything else you want to add?
I just think, you know, it was the setup for the franchise, which I'm not familiar with, but it obviously came out of this huge era for Harrison Ford. Not that he needed. You know, he was coming off of Star Wars, so he was already established there, but this is in that same era with Blade Runner. Like, this was a huge time for him. Mm-hmm. And I think what stuck out most legacy-wise for me, even though I'm only just seeing the movie for the first time, was that score is iconic. That's the theme of Indiana Jones is instantly recognizable when somebody sort of hums it or whatever, right?
Indiana Jones March, yeah.
And now he's Jason Segel's therapist.
That's right. Great on that show. I don't say what you want about that show. He's fantastic on that show.
He's my favorite part of that show.
But yeah, there you go. Harrison Ford, this man. Okay, guys, so that's going to do it for this episode of Late Night at the Movies. Raiders of the Lost Ark. Really happy that we did this, and hope to see JT back in the mix for the next one.
Next?
Well, we may come out with something in between this, depending if we talk about Superman once we all see it, or depending on what else comes out that we've pre-recorded. But the next actual movie that we have planned, which I think Max is actually going to be away for, but you know, we'll see. You never know. Things have happened before where he ended up being able to schedule to some time in. I think it's going to be with Lewis coming on as a guest for The Naked Gun, which is going to be our next pick, essentially, which is a pick made by Lewis. The Naked Gun, of course, has a new film coming out in August as well, with Liam Neeson replacing Leslie Nielsen for the first film ever. They're bringing it back. And I think Pamela Anderson is starring alongside him as well in that. So
is Seth MacFarlane involved in that?
I don't.
Yes.
Is he? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay. Is he like involved in the filming of it?
Directing, I think.
Lighting, maybe.
Producing.
Interesting. I did not know that when we talked.
Oh no, yeah, he's heavily involved.
No, I like him.
Okay,
maybe.
Part of me is curious if Liam Neeson was cast just because
the name. Yeah, we've had that conversation. Believe me, I know. Okay, if he's involved,
he's not directing it. Hold on, I'm trying to figure. I don't want to misspeak here.
We're doing the original.
He's producing.
But by that time, we've scheduled it to where the time that video comes out, we might have already watched the new one as well, which we might discuss at that time. So we'll see what happens. I think Lewis has plans too, but we'll have to talk further about that. But yeah, that'll be our next pick, unless something else, like I said, we put out some other movie review for something current. Otherwise, we also have a video for our top 5 movies so far of the year that will be dropping. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, like and subscribe and all that good stuff. As always, make sure to check out our playlist, all kinds of great stuff in there. Me and Max also recently discussed All-Star Superman. We did like our first graphic novel review together. And I believe me, him, and Julie in the future are also going to be doing Watchmen after we talked about it on the time we reviewed the film on our last pick. So go back and check that out as well when we concluded Zack Snyder month between that and the Man of Steel here at Late Night at the Movies. All right, I think that's about it, though. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next time. And I think JT should be back for that one, as well as, like I said, guest Lewis for the next proper pick. And we'll see where we're at after that. All right, guys. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you guys next time. Get ready for the march.